welcome. Yeah. Okay. Just while we're getting ready, and who's been interested in reading about the Australian curriculum?
Hey, Lee. Hey, Marie. Hey.
Oh, they're all there. Good.
Oh, very welcome.
Yeah. There, okay. How's that? That's better. Yes. Stands up, yep. Okay, yes. So, are we doomed? Is the curriculum, Australian curriculum, gone? What's happening?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Let me say this though. Don't believe everything you read in the papers or everything that Kevin Donnelly says. I have it on fairly good authority that Victoria will actually start its digital technologies curriculum next year. So it doesn't matter what happens nationally, which is, I mean, it does because it matters to all of those people who've been trying to implement something that's, I think, important and substantially good. But the actual Victorian version of the digital technologies curriculum is pretty well guaranteed. It will start next year with full implementation by 2017. On top of that, we'll have the VCE study designs of informatics and computing starting in 2016, as well as a algorithmics to be taught in conjunction with the universities starting next year. So it's happening, but it's a kind of shame when I think when curriculum becomes political. It's just really disappointing. I mean, for me, I've been sort of involved in the Digitech process from the beginning. And you think all the work of good people, and I think it's been very robust, despite what's said about the review of ACARA as being somewhat politically biased and pedagogically biased. The process that I was involved in was rigorous and robust. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
Just because you were talking about how it's quite politicised, I don't see any alternative personally.
Well, I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, the question is, how can curriculum not be politicised? And I suppose it's when a curriculum authority does the bidding of the government in any way, because the ministers are responsible. But when the curriculum authority is built out of educators and then broken down by people who perhaps aren't educators, then it becomes more politicised than perhaps it was in its first instance. But obviously, government and curriculum do go hand in hand. But I think there are ways where we can be less politicised than what we're seeing at the moment, especially when we're talking about a perceived pedagogical bias that the curriculum holds, which is, if you read the review, and it's a couple of hundred pages, the first 3 chapters are fairly explicit. They outline the views of the reviewer quite clearly, I think, and the way curriculum is presented as a sort of privileging, and it's interesting because as a person who likes the ideas of constructivism and constructionism, when a person talks about constructivist teaching, one sort of immediately questions whether they actually understand what it is, because I think you'll find constructivists see constructivism less as a pedagogy but more as a way of thinking and knowing about the world. So anyway, that's just my little soapbox.
No. I think it's sort of related to tonight's topic.
Yeah, it is related. There you go. What were we going to say, Sarah?
There was just a good last night. I saw it last night. It was on-
Q&A.
Well, no, well, yeah, it was, when it was before, well, it's actually, I was looking at something on Twitter, and then it came up the link to, is it the Conversation, or something it's called, and they had quite a good article, which had sort of 4 lecturers from different universities around Australia, and with their sort of opinions on what's been stated in the review. Conversation, yeah. That was quite a good article, quite interesting. Read.
Yes, yes. Well, watch this space, and you know, look, I'll get off this in a minute because Ted, you know, we're going to get on with presentations.
Oh, I know it.
But
I think it's a great topic.
You know, when we were involved in actually developing, I'm talking about digital technologies curriculum, there were comments that said that the curriculum language is too hard for teachers, and I thought, What does that say about people's beliefs in the capacity of teachers? Are we not professionals in our field? There's a few hard words. So, you know, there's hard words in maths, there's hard words in science, you know, and the fact that primary teachers weren't capable of addressing a new curriculum with complex concepts, I thought, well, that's just, you know. And there was actually one comment in the consultation process, and this one's fabulous because somebody wrote in and said, well, my wife's a primary teacher and I don't think she can do it. And I thought, what? What? This is part of the political debate. I don't think my wife's good at, you know, anyway, that's, so I find that kind of rhetoric a bit offensive. And I struggle with the notion of the crowded curriculum as something that's real. We have a very busy life in schools, and we have lots and lots of things happening. But is it the timetable that's crowded, or is it the curriculum that's crowded? Do teachers choose? Do they look at a curriculum and say, I will address these aspects? And I can address, especially in the primary school, where you can say, I will address these concepts and these outcomes in this learning area. You know, anyway, that's... Tell me to shut up, Ted.
No, I just think it is the community of altruists who are trying to actually develop, you know, a way of teaching and learning and thinking through their subject area. So it's a wonderful kind of insight into the readings for tonight, but not the preparation of projects. But although this might be considered to be a community of altruists too, because people are trying to come up with a way of preparing a project that may actually be, you know, quite useful and beneficial.
Yeah, look, I agree. I'm just looking at a couple of comments here. Belinda got excited when she saw the digital technologies, so did I. And the timetable is crowded, not the curriculum. Rebecca's saying both are factors. Look, culture that some teachers do their own thing. Yeah, look, and there are good teachers and less good teachers. You know, and that's just the way of the world. But anyway, I thought we had an opportunity in this country for some sort of aspirational curriculum, and I'm at least pleased to believe that it will continue in Victoria at least. So, although with an election coming, who knows? Now, let us move on straight away to project presentations. We have 4, he says, holding up 5 fingers. Did anybody, apart from the 4 who have nominated, are prepared to present today? Trisha's got a hand up. All right. I do have an activity as well that we can do about open source community, because I think there's, in a way, it's a lovely sort of way to finish, or not quite, well, finish, approach the end of a subject which is about community, and the way that reading addresses the community is interesting. So, I've got people coming and going here. Sam's gone. Sam must be having trouble.
Yes, she is. But I'll keep trying to pull her in.
So, now I do have people. Where is my project presentations? Nick, could you or Ted please invite me once more?
Is that Sam?
Yeah.
I just did it just then. She
Good.
pops in and then it says she's joined.
Sam, he. Yeah,
Him.
him. Good. Anybody else out there that hasn't been? Good.
Anne Reid is not good.
Anne's here.
Oh, sorry, Anne. Someone said invite Anne, and I just thought it was you.
They just,
Hey?
Someone's confused. All right. So I've got Belinda, Kath and Anne, Sarah and Sam. So let's do it like,
Sam's actually presenting
yeah.
because she keeps dropping out.
Yeah.
He, sorry. Samantha, it could be Sam.
It could be Samantha. If he does drop out, well, we'll put him last in case. So, Belinda, are you ready to go?
Oh, ready as I'll ever be.
Good. All right. Do you know how to share?
Yeah, I think I have shared, so you should be able to see it.
Okay, I'm trying
Okay,
that.
there it is. Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know how to make me focus though. Do I just click on me and I'm get focused? Because I still see you. I
I
don't
just
see you.
focused on you, Sam. So Belinda. Sorry.
Yep. So we can see quite all right. And if
Cool.
you talk to that, everything will be fine. Okay? About between 5 to 10 minutes. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay. I don't need to time you, do I? We've got
No.
timing in the classroom. All right. You start when you're ready.
Alrighty. Alright, so hey guys, I'm not currently teaching. I'm off on a work cover issue at the moment, so I didn't be able to have a group of guinea pigs to be able to test my project on, unfortunately. So what I did is I did a review of some technologies that I'd done in the past to be able to see the look at the learning community I was trying to build, what actually did happen, and how, when I have the opportunity, I'm going to be able to fix that again. So the first one that I did is I did my business management blog. I teach mainly VCE, so I teach mainly VCE, business management and accounting. And with BizMan, it's important for students to be up to date with what's happening in the news in regards to different businesses, what's happening in marketing, in advertising and so on. And I ask them, go, read the paper. You know, you should read the paper or read online articles and be able to put together some articles about particular businesses. And they always found that difficult. So I thought, well, why don't we be able to put together and share these? So let's put together a blog in which we can be able to have a look at different articles, we can tag them so we can find them later, and so on. And that's what you see here. This is my BizMan blog. So there's a number of different links to different articles there. So this is when it's a couple of years ago now, so you can see that I've talked about Rhonda and Kutut and the significance of them and how Amy used that in their advertising, the hoax with the radio station calling and pretending they were the Queen and what happened with that. And it's also the time where Qantas fell over. So Qantas had grounded all their flights, but the CEO got a pay rise and so on. So there's a lot about that in there as well. So I was trying to encourage students to be able to put up information, be able to share this so that they had access to all these different articles that they could comment on, we talk about in class, and so on. And as you can see, most of them are posted by, well, me. So unfortunately, I gave them the sites, I gave them the access to be able to see that. The school I was at had an online access to the newspaper and stuff so they could get the articles, but unfortunately they didn't really engage in it. They didn't engage in with being able to see that. So that was my first attempt, and unfortunately, massive fail. My second attempt was to be able to look at accounting, but this time instead of a blog, be able to look at a wiki. So being able to share the wiki online so that everybody would be able to access it, everybody to put details in, and be able to support everybody's learning, so that basically you'd have one, you'd be able to do the notes for one topic area, the whole class would do that, so you've got all the notes together. And so we'd be able to try that. And this is version 1 of that, where I tried to be able to do it using wiki spaces. So a few of the pages in there, as you can see, being able to put some information in there and being able to start doing that. So that was at one school. And then at my second school, I'm going to have to change windows. So give me a sec as I work out how I change windows. Oh, look, put in a picture. Let me work out how I change. Stop. I was going to stop screen sharing for a minute, so you get to look at me for a minute. Sorry about that. Hello. And work out how I get to my next window. And
Good idea.
No, give me that back. Screen share. That one. So version 2 was using OneNote. The school, this was at my next school, and all the Year 12s were given iPads. So the school bought an entire set of iPads for all the Year 12s so that the Year 12s could borrow them for the year, be able to use them and then return them at the end of the year. So the OneNote app on iPads is free. So I went, great, we'll be able to do it that way. We can share the OneNote folder and everybody can do the same thing. So the example that I've got up there is one student's work, and as you can see, she's put in quite a lot of detail to be able to put that all together and support everybody by doing a lot of things that she was able to do. And then I have people that just did that. So some people really engaged with it and went, this is a fantastic idea, let's get into it, let's really put together these notes that we can share with one another. And other people went, well, I'm going to do something so I can say, yes, I did it, and then I'm going to move on. So it was really strange with the students that they're in Year 12, so it's a competition, and I understand that, it's a competition. But when it came to sharing, they weren't a fan of that. They didn't want to be able to share. They didn't want to be able to contribute to this. They saw their notes as being their own, and they didn't want to be able to put that together with other people's. So when I look at being able to do that again in the future, I really want to be able to look at how I can build that. So how I can build it so that there isn't the what's mine is mine and I don't want anybody else to have it, and you know, I'm competing with you, so if you have my notes and you have your notes, then you know, you're going to do better than me, and work out how I can be able to build that learning community. And what I wrote about was being able to look at the buy-in, and that students didn't have that buy-in. Students didn't have the, I really want to do this and how it's going to help their learning that I would have liked, and that's something that I'm going to have to work on when I get back into the classroom and be able to do. So yeah, that's my review of the past, and hopefully be able to use some of the things that we've learned in this class to move on to the future and be able to do some great things there as well.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Do you want to get feedback on the...
Yeah, questions or comments? Yeah. I mean, Rebecca, you can talk if you like, because you've got a few comments there.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I'm here. I actually really like what you've done, and I really like the way you approach the project in general. I like the idea that you went to OneNote. I use OneNote with a staff. And I find it really user-friendly, easy to use. And even with staff, I find equitable contribution doesn't happen. So don't feel bad that it's not happening with your students. I think that's more a societal thing than just the cohort as well. So don't be disheartened by that. With my students, I use Edmodo, and that was what I did my project on. And I found that like you in your first community that you tried to create, I was doing all the work. I was the one contributing the most. But I found that my students wanted to communicate with me but not with each other. So I found that there was lots of communication going on, but it was in all the wrong directions. Yeah. So I think what you've done is fantastic, and I think when you get to go back to work and have another go at it, I think you're going to be starting from a much better position. So I think what you did was great. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from Kevin? I'm reminded, Belinda, about the what's mine and what's yours of a paper I saw in Potsdam by a Norwegian guy whose name I can't pronounce. Anyway, I can't do it. I should dig it up. But he was looking at the social ecology of online communities in the sense that very much that whole idea of the ones that wouldn't share their notes because there was a whole lot of people in the community who just talk about giving. So they would have been happy to share notes with the people who were actually part of the community in giving, but not with those who weren't. That's very nice. Thank you, Belinda. We might keep moving, and I think I've got, who did I say was next? Kath and Anne. Yes. Now I've got Anne here, and I've got Kath online. Now this is going to be an interesting double act.
Yeah, I hope this is going to work okay. Can you hear me?
Just say before you start, Kath, that this is the first time anyone's done a joint project, and it's kind of, I don't know what it looks like, so I don't know whether it's worked or not. But I love the idea that somebody will actually do it together, because I think it's a challenging task, and hopefully we'll be able to encourage more collaboration in future years. So, Kath, you start, and then Anne will have to come over here. Go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'm a bit nervous now. I'm sorry, and I'm finding it hard to hear. Bear with me a second.
Over to you, Kath.
I'm sorry. Okay, so this is my my project, or myself and Anne's project. Basically, it's called the e-learning squad. So, if I talk for a second about our audience, myself and Anne are both work within e-learning, and we decided to do this project because there's really no community that's within Australia for specifically for practitioners of e-learning, whether they're an instructional designer or a project manager or a digital designer. So we have basically designed this platform that is specifically for this cohort. So basically what we've done is, as you can probably see across the top here, we've done a little explanation of who this is for. So of course it's covering all the sectors from F12 through to university. It's, like I said before, for project managers, IDs, e-learning developers, LMS administrators and learning managers. This is actually something that is going to go live. So it's obviously we're just explaining that it's free, and it's going to allow for practitioners to network, interact on forums. It's also got an LMS built in. It pumps out digital accreditation. And do you want to talk about the rationale a little bit?
Come on over, Anne.
Let's see.
What am I talking about?
The rationale, I hope.
Rationale of why we do this.
Yeah.
So what happened with us coming together as a joint project was Kath and I have been talking about this when we met last semester in one of his other classes, both working in e-learning, and Kath told me about her plans to build this e-learning squad to have a community in Australia. And then when I started the subject, I said, yeah, we've got to come to this subject. This is exactly what you're planning to do. And then working on the projects, I was going to be doing a school-based one, and Kat and I had still been talking about the e-learning squad, and then Kat said, why don't we just do this together, because we're actually working on it in real time, in real life. Not just for the course, but it's going to go live.
That's right.
Yeah. Ready to jump in. So, so we were looking at something, as Kat said, Australia-based. There's nothing currently in Australia specifically for e-learning practitioners to come together. There's some around the web, international ones, but what we found was most of them were product-related or product-based. So, if you are using a certain product, there's a community around it. Buying a service from someone, there's a community around that. But there was no independent community where we could come together and discuss across platforms, across sectors, and that sort of thing. So that's what we're looking at creating with this site. And it's still in development, but it is hopefully going to go live fairly soon. And Kat's got together some people for the e-learning squad. So there's a core team of people who are the actual squad, which is Kat, myself from the education sector, and then she's got someone who's from the RTO sector, and who else have you got, Kat? Oh, sorry.
Maybe she has to unmute.
Kat?
Can you unmute yourself, Kat?
Can you unmute? Miss Blair?
Up the top, perhaps. That's mute
Oh,
yourself.
sorry about that. Can you hear me?
There's this squad, I think.
There's the squad. We got it.
Yeah. So basically, like we said, what we're really excited about this is there's actually a functionality in here to create courses. So this is just an example of what we can do. So there's some courses here. You can filter them down just through clicking on these. What we'll end up doing is having, getting guest people to come in and create courses, whether it's an instructional designer doing a course on the ADDIE model, or it could be a digital designer doing something in HTML. Basically, people can go up to the top, click on create content, and as long as they've got instructor access in which they can apply to do that, they can come here, they can type in the name of the course, they can select where it's going to sit under, click on an image, etc. So it's really nice interface that's been built here, really user-friendly. We've got a blog, so again, some of these practitioners that specialise in really cool things, like there's a top guy called Matthew Richardson, who's in Queensland, who's doing some really great stuff for kids, using the Oculus Rift and a lot of Google products. He's a Google certified teacher. I might get him on here to blog, and again, we've got a whole forum system that I've built into this thing. So it's set up under news and discussions, right down to each of the segments. And again, we're just starting to put this together, but I think it's quite exciting where this could go. And again, because there's nothing in Australia, we're hoping that this will be kind of a one-stop shop that practitioners want to go to. Along with that, what I've actually done is I've put a whole accreditation system in, which is kind of fun. So you've got badges here, so when people, obviously we want to get the brand out there, and so basically when someone joins up, they get a badge, and when they contribute, they get a badge. Forum Ninja, for example, is just clicking on it. So that's creating a forum topic and replying to a forum topic. So you can see we've thought about a lot of things here.
Fabulous. We need badges on the Ning. Why haven't you?
so some of the problems that we foresee, and will jump in as well. Obviously, I've just got this on my private, on my server. It's a shared server. You know, potentially we don't know how many people could be interested in getting onto this thing. So that's one of the things that we have initially identified. If we get too much traffic, how are we going to handle this if we're not charging anyone to access this? Anne, do you want to?
Yeah, so just to elaborate on that, so as we were putting the project together, we tried to sort of tease that out a bit, what we would do in the great scenario when we've got so many people coming onto the site that it's currently hosted isn't enough. And obviously we want it to be a free service so that it's very community based and not product related. So we thought of one of the ways to possibly overcome that if we're having to pay for server hosting was to have some paid content. So when some of the e-learning products launch a new product, we could have a paid advertising, but we'd be very explicit and clear when any content is sponsored or paid for, so that the users can be very clear what the differences are. So, I mean, it's still great to be able to show what new products have come out or being launched, or what new services are available, and obviously we'd be able to offer that as a sponsored ad or sponsored space, so that we can cover our costs of hosting on the server. So that's sort of the long plan. And then another challenge, obviously, in starting it up is initially driving people to the site. Before we get too big, we have to get someone. So the initial thoughts there was to the core squad to reach out to our respective current e-learning networks and start getting traffic to the site once we have some content on there. And to create the content to get people to come, we'd start with doing some, not link farming, but linking already published articles and blogs and sites to get interest in what we're sharing on the site, post some reviews of products that we've looked at or used, and that sort of thing. And as that builds, we would like to, as Kath mentioned, get guest bloggers, so leaders in the industry, to hopefully get them to contribute or share a guest post or blog.
Maybe a Melbourne Uni partnership.
Maybe. So yeah, so that's the plan. Those were the two challenges initially: getting traffic to the site. So we were going to pre-populate a lot of the areas, including pre-populating some of the forums, just to, and we looked at that in terms of scaffolding, because we've been modelling some of the getting different people to sort of put in questions and then get someone else to answer as a modelling form, so that the first time people come there, it's not blank forums. There's some kind of models of questions, answers, discussions already populated there. Yeah, so that's our thoughts on challenges. Anything else, Kat?
Well, you know, you can probably see, all you can see is my face on this thing, so I'm really sorry about that. We haven't been able to test it. Obviously, I'm an e-learning designer, so I don't teach anybody through face-to-face delivery. I design curriculum. So we haven't really got any achievements to tell you right now. But I'd like to just tell you quickly about the platform. So this is built on WordPress. It was a premium theme that I've basically customized. Obviously, I've bought a logo and put a color theme together, and I've been able to customize exactly how I want this to look. So myself and Anne have spent a lot of time making sure that this is user-friendly. We've looked at other communities that we have, you know, we've been quite critical of. We've saying, well, what works, what doesn't work. The functionality of it is actually really, really nice. I mean, even down to having for instructors, for them to have their own kind of dashboard, which is a bit slow to load right now, but there's an opportunity to really customize this quite well. So that's it.
Fantastic.
Unless you've got anything, Anne.
No, I'm good.
Any comments from the floor or from the cyberspace? I think everyone's a bit sort of overwhelmed with the size. I think, you know, you've got a large thing happening there. Wow.
Yeah, look, we have been actually talking about this for a long time. Even before starting so I came here straight from Monash doing a Bachelor of Adult Learning, and when we were there, I actually started talking about designing something for adult learning. And then as I've basically gotten more and more into e-learning, it was a great opportunity. I had already started working on it. This class just seemed so aligned with this. So it's just been a good opportunity to get off my bum and actually do it. So.
Right, good.
Yeah. And I think that's why there's a squad as well. So it's not one person, that you need a team, because that's not our job.
And this is interesting because Kathy spoke to me about, because it's something that is and built with a team. How could it be submitted as a project? So, you know, identifying the components that are created for this activity and what's happening right here and now is how, because it's kind of difficult, isn't it? So that's not 6 weeks' work.
Yeah.
You know, that's fantastic. So I really be interested to see. I wish I could allow the speak for the university and say yes, we'll take it over. But
well,
hey,
it's live right now, so if anyone wants to jump on and sign up and even give us feedback, that'd be great. You know, we need to actually test it, like quite robust testing system. So feel free, jump on, log in, break it, let us know. And
looking at some of the projects already, you know, you think, well, there might be a place for it in some of the things that people are looking for, communities or projects that platforms that can support that kind of thing. So that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks, Kath. Can you mute?
Sorry, just a question.
Yeah, David's got a question.
Yep.
A potential source of revenue coming? Is it going to be based on a user-based system, or is it advertising per sale, or is there a way of the sideways to generate money in the future?
The question, I don't know if you heard it, Kath, is what's the revenue source? Is there a revenue source? How are you going to fund it?
Well, at the moment, it's really costing me nothing to put it on my server. You know, what we may do is, I don't really want there to be a monetary connection. I want this to be free, but you know, we may be in a situation where we need to put it on a server. So maybe just sponsorships by companies, whether it's some of their programs like Articulate or Captivate. I can see that that's the only way at the moment, or even having conferences that may want to sponsor us. I'm not sure. We're just going to take baby steps at the moment and see where it goes, because at the moment it's cost me nothing to build it, because I've done it, and it's cost, well, other than the logo and a couple of bits and bobs, you know. So I've never ran a business, I've never done anything, and I didn't want this to be to be focused on money, but let's just see what happens with it, and if we need financial backing, we'll look at it when time comes.
Good on you. All right. So Anne's got a comment.
It's also essential to add the courses in at a cost. So if people start, you know, if we get some good designers on there who want to start running courses and producing courses on there for on design or application use, and feel that there's a cost that they can.
Yeah. Sorry. Just Anne was saying, if you can't put in here, that there could be the option of getting costs returned, like through the designers or through the course. Okay, one more from David, then we move on.
As a unique way of perceiving your product, how can they actually protect their product, their website, without anyone actually creating something similar? Is there a way for them to protect it?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because we've got open sources all about that too, isn't it? I mean, how do you protect it, Anne, Kath or Anne, from people copying it or stealing it?
Well, I've registered I've got an ABN now, and I've registered the company name. I don't know. I suppose there's nothing stopping anyone else jumping on and doing the same thing. But having been said that there's nothing out there, let's hope that people are interested and want to jump on board, and and there isn't another one, but that you just see.
And Rebecca's put up a thing about Creative Commons license. I don't know. Sorry, where's my phone going? I hope that's my son.
Can I just say, my understanding of Australian law is that if you produce it, you already have the copyright.
Yeah.
So the Creative Commons law license would release it for other people to use. So it would be a nice thing to do, and that is actually part of the open source community, Creative Commons. So that is actually, and it may be possible that might be the thing that both Kath and Anne want to do, is make it a licensable idea rather than be used elsewhere. And that could be self-generating, in other words. It could actually be positive for you guys. But the natural thing in Australia, the standard thing, is if you produce that, you've already copyrighted it. You can't deny that you own it if you produced it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on. Thank you, Kath. That's great. And thank you, Anne. We've got applause registered on the group chat, and dear, my son really wants to talk to me. Never mind. Doesn't he know what I do on Tuesday nights? He's forgotten. He's just had a great offer at work, and he wants to tell me about it.
Yeah. Put him up on the screen.
Yeah. Now, I think it's Sarah, and then Facebook. Sell it to Facebook in 5 years for $1 billion. There you go. And just remember where you learned about it. Okay.
You want to sit?
I'll sit, because is it okay for me to pull?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, hang on. We're not going to let you take that.
Tell me where you want me to go.
Well, I need to go wiki spaces to be able to log in and open it up.
You can just go in here and type in wiki spaces.
We can have to stand up if you like.
They can still see you, but then we'll
Sure,
switch over
right.
to. So the people online are just watching you typing things in right at the moment. So wait a minute, guys online, because you'll see Sarah swap over to share her screen. She's just actually trying to find her Wikispaces site, and then I'll go back and share the screen, I hope.
Okay.
Good. So you just have to go back. You can leave this open, but if we go back to here, we click on that, and then we say which one we want, that one there.
Perfect.
Then you can go back and do all your work from here.
Oops, we didn't share it.
Oh, didn't we share it? Hold on. Just let's check. Did we share? Oh, we've got to go down and share. So that's the one we want.
Yep.
Share.
There we go.
So that's right. Now,
Perfect.
just you can work on it from here. Whoops.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
Right.
actually went to it straight away.
Okay. I'll start by I guess my project was a mock-up. It's not something that's currently live or being used within my school. I just chose to work on a mock-up for this particular project. For my first essay, I focused around sort of staff professional development with use of Twitter, and I wanted to continue that, I guess, angle with a staff professional learning focus. And so I worked on creating this mock-up. In the school, I teach at the start of this year as part of our professional learning that's happening within the school. They introduced plaques or professional learning action communities within the school, and that stemmed from our sort of school improvement plan and our current action plan for this year and years to come. And so every staff member, I work in a Prep to 12 school as well, which is, I guess, something to remember too. And within the junior school, the plaques are used, not within the senior school that I'm aware of. And every staff member in the junior school is a member of a plaque, and at the start of each semester, the plaques are sort of introduced, and we can nominate which plaque we would like to be a member of. So, for example, last term there were 2 plaques which you can see on this wiki here that are continuing, so Inquiry and I work in a Catholic school, so religious education based plaque as well, and they have both continued from semester 1, whereas the other 3 plaques there, so we've got Contemporary Learning 1, ICT and SEL, which is Social Emotional Learning. And say, for example, each plaque is facilitated by a member of, I guess what we call it, which I guess is a member of the leadership team. We don't necessarily use that term for some of them. Some are, but some are sort of almost sort of leadership team, but not quite. And that's sort of their facilitating the plaque, because that plaque is possibly within the area of their sort of, I guess, specialised area. So, for example, last semester I was in a mathematics plaque, and that was run by the numeracy coordinator of the junior school. And so I decided at the end of last semester, the plaques sort of went on throughout the semester, and each plaque meets weekly. They choose a designated meeting time. There is a focus that's set up, which does stem from the school action plan. And every member of the plaque has sort of little roles within that plaque, particularly when it comes to meetings. Chair of the meeting.
I'm so sorry, guys, but we can't see anything.
Oh.
That's interesting.
All we see is a black screen with your cursor. We see your cursor moving. There it is. Thank you.
That's right.
Weird. Yeah.
Have we got to be on that for you to? But you can't access.
Can I
it.
then access it or not? Oh.
Just tell us, guys, if we move that. Do you see it still?
Or not see now?
No, it's gone.
Okay, so move it down.
There we
and
can see it.
Okay, so that's got to be the active one, but whether or not, if you click on anything, whether it actually goes away for them, I may do.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's gone to black again.
Okay.
So I lost it again. Then it's back.
Oh,
Good.
God, I didn't know.
Can
that.
how do I then?
I don't know.
Then
my
go
way
to your other screen, click on it, and then go back to this screen.
Go to that screen.
Yeah, click on where you want to go.
Yeah.
Can you see anything, or is it black screen again?
No, you've gone back to a black screen now.
If you want to move it, you just have to go to that and then go back.
Okay, then you go back, jump in.
this.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. That's fine. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly finish my. At the end of that semester, each plaque shared at staff meeting and sort of fed back to staff about what they looked at throughout the semester. And one of my bugbears, I'll say, of the plaques and how they operated was that it took until the end of the semester for everyone to kind of have an awareness of what was happening in each plaque, and that sort of there wasn't probably enough cross-sharing amongst. It came down to some staff who may have been particularly interested, and they may have made an active, I guess, decision to share or ask what was happening. Otherwise, you were very much only aware of what was happening in the plaque you were in. So I decided to create this mock-up of an online extension of those plaques to allow for that sort of those plaques to grow and be sort of available to the wider staff within the school. My ideal plan was to use our school portal, which we're just in the process of implementing, which is using the Schoolbox application, which some may have heard of, some may not. It has a lot of capabilities similar to sort of a wiki and a lot of blogging and other sort of platforms out there. However, being a Prep to 12 school, I encountered some barriers with that, and so I had to replan what I was hoping and move to just creating the mock-up within Wikispaces, which I've used before. So which has, as I said, similar components to Schoolbox.
So if you just go down to Firefox and swap.
Now,
Yeah,
okay,
you
so
can swap. Say what PLAC stands for.
So
because that's
PLAC is Professional Learning Action Community. So automatically you've sort of got that sense of a learning community. And that front page that those on the Hangout could see before. Oh no, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, it's just there.
Now the front page is the introductory page, just outlines obviously what the plaques sort of are, and I've made reference to the key sort of 8 SIL standards as well that are addressed.
Could you click and present to everyone? Screen sharing. Just now swap to the.
Is it still black again? Can you see now, everyone in the Hangout?
Someone turn their mic on.
No, it's black.
It's not
Okay,
black,
that's fine. Sorry, we're just trying something else. I'll pull up one of the pages on the side quickly, and then I'll go back to the Hangout for you to see. This is one of the pages. I'm actually this semester a member of 2 plaques, which is a little unusual. However, I'm leading the ICT plaque, and I'm also a member of the Contemporary Learning plaque, as that follows on from another team I was part of earlier in the year. On each page, and I'm happy to, if anyone wants to look at it further, on each page I've set out a main foci of what the plaque is, and I've tried to show across the different pages the different components or tools that could be embedded within the wiki. So there are things like, there's even a Twitter feed from different conferences that have been happening over the last number of weeks, if they're relevant. There's images, I've embedded even a couple of slide shares, linking to certain sites that may be relevant, just trying to show, obviously, through the widgets component of Wikispaces, to show, I guess, the variety of resources that could be shared amongst staff, and just to show, I guess, its capabilities. I have included also, sorry, on the Hangout, I'm just going to scroll back and then I'll go back to again.
Wow.
Here at the bottom, you'll see I've included in some of the pages. This one was a reading that we looked at. We're looking at personalised learning, so I included the reading so that staff can obviously access that reading as well. And then I've also embedded the discussion thread within the page. However, obviously at the top of Wikispaces, they can still access the discussion as well. On a number of pages, because it's a mock-up, I have obviously I've added how the discussion could be started, whether it's I've added sort of questions or sort of posed thoughts or ideas, and then I have on some of the pages included how they could be responded to, just as complete mock-up. So at the moment it's only obviously all me on the discussion forum as well. For example, with the religion plaque, they're looking at the use of prayer within the school, so I sort of had some ideas and shared how I do that within my classroom, for example. And I guess for me it was wanting all the staff to see what's happening amongst the plaques, and having the opportunity to also share their ideas, because at the moment I feel there's probably staff within the wider staff, obviously, group who may be able to offer some insight or ideas that could be helpful for each plaque group, and there might be things that we haven't thought of as an individual group. So I was keen to, I guess, look at how that could be extended to really have that sort of collaboration and sharing across. I was mindful, I guess, which I made note in my project, was obviously some challenges that I could foresee. Obviously at the moment is a mock-up. One being participation, as is often the case, as staff are obviously already committing to a face-to-face meeting, that staff may be hesitant. And I guess for me, when we, at the beginning of this semester, we actually all reflected upon the plaques last semester, and one of the common reflections was the same as my bugbear, that the information's not being disseminated amongst the staff enough. So I guess for me, proposing such an online extension is a way of addressing that concern, which was made by multiple staff. And I guess too then, whether it's a matter of sharing it at staff meetings, introducing it, and being honest about possible challenges and obviously possible successes with such a platform as well. And the other thing was, I guess, how to scaffold or manage or monitor it. And I was mindful that, say, when we have face-to-face meetings and each person within the plaque has a role, whether it be, as I said earlier, minute taker or chairperson or whatever, that you could have a person or two people within that Platt group, and their role could be as like an administrator of the online extension, so they could be responsible for uploading some resources or some ideas. And a lot of it will stem from discussions in staff meetings. It could be new things, but a lot will stem from that. Because at the moment, staff share by email to other members of their own, obviously, Platt group. They also save things onto the school network, but my thought is you look at the email, you either delete it or you archive it, and particularly with the school network, you save it into a folder, but whether people actually are regularly then looking at that or referring back to that was something that I don't think is probably happening. If we're probably honest about when we save things to a school network, we save it there, but whether we actually continue to look at it or reflect upon it. And I'll just pull up another page as well, so just bear with me on the Google Hangout for a second. Sorry. I've even just included like a general professional learning page as well, and where needed, having some things to share there too. So I've already shared it with the literacy and numeracy coordinator at my school, as I was sort of keen to show them what's been happening. At the moment, our curriculum coordinator's actually on leave, so they were sort of the next sort of ones to share it with. And I've also shared it last Friday with the junior school principal, so I was keen to hopefully see maybe this might be something for next year to consider, as I think particularly as our school portal is obviously implemented, and that could be a platform in which it could happen. So yeah, it's something I'm quite passionate about and would love to see happening at my school, hopefully. Something I'll keep pushing for.
Good on you. Thank you.
Great, Sarah.
We'll stop the share.
Yeah.
Any comments or
Get that on.
anything?
Sorry, could you give me one recommendation from them?
One recommendation, as a sense of...
Oh, like it's another idea of an expansion or another direction or...
Yeah,
like,
or with another way I could see the plaque working, or the... Sorry, I'm not quite sure what...
Sorry, it's just that when we did that project, part of it was a recommendation, like could be a good suggestion or an add-on or something else you could possibly connect with it.
I guess for me, whether it's possible eventually would be to open it wider as well where needed. So whether it could be looking at sort of other communities out there and tapping into them as well, and where if they could somehow be obviously introduced as time progresses. I think at the moment we've something in sort of school and in staff, whereas maybe opening elements of it up wider later on could be worthwhile too.
Yeah, cool. What's Belinda saying? It's so much better to have all the PL in one space. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, that idea of people communicating by email, and you know, I mean, I'm in an international group, and trying to get us to actually use our Ning, it's almost impossible. We just rely on email, and things just get. There's no archive. We lose the archive. Beauty. All right. Now we're going to go. We're doing really well. We've got Sam's next. You ready, Sam? We'll get you to do the screen share. Thank you very much, Sarah.
You have to unmute, Sam.
And
Yeah, he's done.
yeah, I'm just saying.
Is Sam the last person?
Yeah,
You have to go.
you have to go. Yeah. Now, we're just sorting out some stuff here, Sam. Yeah, we'll make sure we've got this recording so you can hear it, David, and we'll take it from there. Sam's up here.
Okay.
Okay, you right?
Yeah. Audio working okay?
Yep, beautiful.
You're not sharing, but you're...
I'm going to try some screen sharing as well, so hopefully it works.
Right.
One sec.
Find that green one.
Yep. Okay. Is that working?
No.
Black. Here it is.
Black screen?
Yeah, we've got it. Sorry, we've got
Got
it.
it. Okay, cool. So mine's a little bit similar to the previous one. It's all about staff sort of in-house PD. But I was lucky enough to try it with a real audience. So not to sort of bore you with the details, we've got something possibly a little bit similar to the plaque setup, but my school kind of takes their PD really seriously. They actually got rid of Saturday sport a few years ago, and rather than make teachers come in for that, they've dedicated 4 hours every Monday afternoon to staff PD. So as a result, there's a fair bit of admin attached, and every teacher in the school has to nominate their SMART goals and the areas they want to focus, and then the departments have a sort of common set of goals as well that are kind of attached. So anyway, up until this year, all teachers were required to basically just keep tabs of their own PD, and once every 2 years there'll be a kind of appraisal process, and you just compile all of your documentation. And it's really just up to individual teachers, and it's a little bit clunky and it feels a bit arbitrary, and there's not a lot of follow-up. So in my role at the school, I've basically got a dual role. 50% of my load is e-learning and 50% is visual arts. And so I just worked with the visual arts team to bring all of our PD discussions, documentations onto Schoology. The reason I chose Schoology is that we don't actually have a dedicated LMS at my school. We're still in this sort of state of perpetual review of which LMS to go with. But Schoology's had a fair bit of momentum kind of from the ground up. So a lot of staff have found it for themselves and have actually built a pretty remarkable network off of their own back without any sort of top-down direction. So I'll give you a bit of an overview rather than just keep waffling on. So what you're looking at now, for people that haven't heard of Schoology, I suppose it's modelled a little bit on Facebook. You've got a homepage. You build courses or subscribe to courses. You can see there's a number there that I'm involved in, some of which I moderate, and you can see the little kind of crown symbol there, and others I just kind of follow along as a sort of support or as a spectator. So at the start of this year, I built this one here, which is for staff of my faculty, the Visual Arts Department. And so if we go into there, the homepage basically just compiles all of the posts across all of those subjects. Once you click in, you can see now the posts are basically just a feed of notifications specific to this faculty course. So through here we get, it's a nice way of kind of centralizing a lot of communication, things that often don't really require an email. And from there we can sort of drill in a little bit. So this is fairly general, just kind of like a bulletin board or whatever, I guess. But then if we go into materials, this is where we've got a lot of admin material around professional development, and then there's some other stuff here. Now, what's been really good about this is all of the visual arts teachers are subscribed, so you can tailor the notifications that you receive, so you can either receive everything and it will push through to your phone or tablet, or you can kind of turn some of them off if they're a little bit too painful. But in this folder here is where each teacher, so we've got all of our official documentation. This is the whole learning areas goals, so everyone's got references to basically the various directions that we want to head. Hopefully it loads pretty quickly. No. That's one thing that's a little bit annoying with Schoology. I think the servers are in the US and it can, here we go, it can be a little bit slow at times. So within this document we've got some sort of common goals. So I'll give you some examples. 21st century skills. So these are goals that the department have come up with as a group and all subscribe to, and then we link our personal goals to these as a sort of guiding document. Build collaboration, knowledge, and skills-based resources and connections by delivering a program of workshops, for example. So I think there's something like about 10 different ones under a bunch of different overarching titles. So there's the kind of official stuff there, which will then get pushed through to the school admin. This is only in my department. other areas of the school are catching on to this because it makes sense kind of on an efficiency level. It kind of centralizes all of the work that people would otherwise sort of do individually. Now, when we go into this one, you'll be able to see, I suppose, the benefits of the platform, actually. Hang on, I've clicked on the wrong thing. Professional learning plans, right? So from here, each teacher has basically got their own discussion board, and so we've just named it after, you know, obviously all the staff members. When you click through to each individual discussion, what's worked quite nicely here is we've got roughly 6 main SMART goals. So SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, and timely. I don't know what the R is. Give me a second. I'll come back to you in about 3 minutes. So you can see here that the individual staff member will post their original goal, and then what's really nice is at various sort of intervals throughout the term, when we have our designated time, we'll then come back and reflect on our own progress. So you can see we've got a little timestamp here from the end of last year. A couple of months later, while, you know, allowing enough time for people to sort of act on their goals, you'll get the follow-up, and then people are also encouraged to respond to each other's. So you get this nice kind of incremental sort of documentation showing where people are at. It's a nice way to kind of build some accountability because you can see kind of how long people are spending on each individual goal, and then what their follow-up is over a period of, say, 6 months. That way, the onus is kind of nicely shifted back to the staff member, and also we're building from the knowledge of the whole department. So we've got sort of 6 or 8 staff members who can, at any point in time, check in on someone else's progress on one of their goals and kind of throw in some nice little tidbits about something that they might have done that links, or someone they know or whatever. You can see it's generally the one person. People will only tend to jump in if it's something useful, so we try and avoid just you know, inane discussion. But the other nice thing is, you know, similar to all these other platforms, all you have to do is kind of like a comment, and it's a nice way to sort of show someone that you think they're on the right track, or even just show to the department that you've been reading other people's goals, I suppose. You can do more than just post text, so if you want, you could add, obviously you can add links, you can add other media, and I think that's probably the next level with this. We look to maybe be making video resources or other things, which we do in our other courses, but at the moment it's probably less applicable to our learning area and our PD. So the school admin have kind of cottoned on, and we've got a few people that are kind of enrolled in this course now. If we click into members, there are some people that are outside of our department that are kind of administrators at the school, and so they're able to track the discussions as well. And already there are people that are saying, well, you know, of the available tools that all of the different learning areas have, this one's shaping up to be a really nice kind of elegant way, rather than people just individually managing Word documents and kind of fluffing all the documentation at the last minute just to kind of tick a box. This is a way to kind of add some nice value to the PD process without really having to do any more work or work, you know, that much harder, if that makes sense.
Fantastic, thank you. We'll take over the screen. That's great, thanks, Sam. Any comments? Any comments from anybody?
I like the discussion. I like when staff can have their own discussion thread. That element of that reflection and that accountability, I think, is so important. I mean, think a lot.
Can you speak in short sentences so I can repeat it for David?
I like the discussion thread.
So Sarah says she likes the discussion thread.
And that staff reflection and accountability.
And the staff reflection and accountability. And I suppose that's, you would wonder, it'd be interesting, Sam, how well staff respond to people commenting on their own statements, their own goals, and their own achievements?
Yeah, there are times when it feels a little bit like an echo chamber, but I suppose you've got dual purposes in that. Primarily, you are there to kind of just document your own progress. So the discussion is sort of adding value, but it's not really the main purpose, I guess. So it's still early days, but it's nice to put this sort of stuff into practice, I guess.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, it's really interesting, and it's interesting because I know I've read your project that you chose the platform because the platform was already being used, and that kind of that's a real bonus if you've already got people actually in a platform. You say, well, now I'm going to take it an extra space. And if people haven't looked at Schoology, it looks quite nice. Worth having a look. Wow, that's good. So that's 4 presentations down in 45 minutes or an hour.
That's very good.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fabulous. Now we're going to go and do it. We're going to do an activity, I believe, and we do have people who've put their names down for next week. See how easy it wasn't hard, was it, presenting, folks? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's easy. It's good. Is it a useful task? I think to hear people present.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. I think it's really, really nice. So please add your name. Iman's already added hers, and David's added his. So please, so that we can structure the class for next week. Now, what are we doing? Oh yeah, open source. And it was interesting reading comments about open source and this idea about a community of altruists. And I know some of the comments were, yes, some of the comments about indicated that people were kind of aware, really aware, or not very aware of the open source community and what's going on out there. What I thought, I really would like us to investigate some open source materials. Some of you have already started doing that. Has anyone heard of SourceForge? Anyone there? SourceForge?
Linda has.
Yep. Good. Okay. So when we think about a learning community or a community of altruists, and Ted and I were having this discussion this afternoon. There's communities within communities in the open source community. I have a colleague who's very much a sort of like a zealot, a religious. It's this whole thing, this open source community, this place where you do good for mankind, so that in itself is a community. But within each application, of course, exists another community who are the users, the testers, the writers of the specific software. We had asked you to post some open source favourites, and we got a few up, not a lot. But look, can I ask you, oh, I meant to pick up some big pieces of paper, but I didn't. Can I ask you in your groups, just quietly for only a couple of minutes, list what you know about open source software? Okay, this is about 3 or 4 minutes worth of work. List what you know about open source software. You can do that at home too, amongst yourselves, whether you list in the chat.
I think in the chat.
In the chat, yeah, okay. So if you're not in a group, we've got...
In our chat, in the Google.
Yeah, if you're not in a physical group here, we need possibly 3 groups, because we've got a big table there. We've got, come on, moving. over to David's table. Okay, there we go. They've started already.
Did you also?
Yeah, I've got that. That's all right.
I understand it. Like,
Oh yeah, we've got a little time, but that's good. I think we have that's good.
Right. Yeah. We've got 2 big tables. Wow. And then
It's quite like those. It's very hard to think of how you would actually run curriculum discussion. That's politics. You can't do it. No. It has to be politics. Yeah.
we're talking about you.
We were in agreement with you that it's impossible to exclude politics from curriculum discussion. Huh? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't think you can actually do any discussion about curriculum that isn't political.
Of course, but the way that it's structured, yeah, I mean, you guys work in the industry, I'm sure it's easy. Especially from a historical perspective, it's very easy to find someone to agree with you because of your opinion. So it's more, now the process is more just about finding those people that agree with you. So
I don't know what else about it.
So the issue is in the selection of people in the first place. That shouldn't be done by political, it should be done by anyone. We should be controlled by the states because this is
something that's
But
free,
then
that anyone can
the
access.
national curriculum is
Contribute to
There's
that.
a lot of compromise.
I think that is the
Oh yeah.
definition of
Early
source
on.
funds.
That's
Talks
not
about the
Even though the compromise
is able to qualify
and it will
change
change.
that.
We can
I
make
think that's the fastest
and
come
submit it
together,
to
make it happen.
And so
Who
is
would say
that why
yes or no?
there's no
and have
ownership?
the ministers make the decisions.
Then that's the issue really because
I think it's kind of, that's where it's like open.
the adult centers perspective.
I don't know how to explain it.
So where you go,
I don't know.
considering
I think that's where, say before, I know earlier they were saying that they
tend to
before it was Creative Commons and it says that it's open for others to see, but I think as Joe was saying, it might not always be completely open. Whereas some of them are described as wider community access. But a big, I don't know, some of that
So
came out,
that's the
yeah,
issue. People talking based on their own
that a
perspective.
lot of their people in the
From an
community
adult perspective rather than
users
okay,
of that
what
particular
what do I need as a
platform
student
program
in this
might be,
area?
there's that still a strong sense of there's
in this community?
there's something
Political sense.
that ties them to that community.
Yeah, so what do they need
I
to
guess
become?
has come out
And
from
what do they need
communities.
in this, because it's an occupation, it's a big issue.
But
They need to
I
perform
think
in
it
this
seemed,
operation.
just when it was
Yes.
something specific, something that they
Okay,
can
I might
also
stop everyone.
have the ability to create and
Oh
modify.
yeah.
You can go.
Yeah, you go and sit. Okay, I'm going to stop everyone now. Time's up. See, this is. Hey, come. Who wrote things down? Did anyone write anything down? Hey, I said this was short and sharp discussion. Well, the people online wrote stuff down. So have a look at what's online first, because there's a whole lot of, there's a nice list. I'll take it back up. And here we go, shared code, community of programmers, shared stuff, take and edit code, scientific approach to building apps, customizable, free, all components are. For the greater good, misunderstanding about what FOSS is, yep. Hey, we'll have to find it. Oh, right. Okay, thank you very much. There's some really nice stuff online. Still reading. Yes, good. Any group wish to add anything to that? Because we're going to do another activity immediately, just a quick 5-minute sharing. So if you've got something to add. So we've looked at what we know about it. What I want good points, bad points. Okay, open source, good points, bad points. That needs a list.
Wow.
5 minutes.
So it's changes
Free. Anybody you like, Anthony?
I think that is one of the best things about it.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Why not?
Yeah.
I just love all the stuff that people do for free.
Oh, yeah. The best part is that they do it.
They could do it, and it would be available to me.
It's like that.
Yeah, but the other ones don't cost much. No, they're only $1. So it's almost as good when they're $1.
Just to get not necessarily a bad point, but something, particularly when that's coding level or distributed. Obviously, when it comes to open source, some things are possibly, I'm not sure whether it comes to sometimes contributing at a level that's sometimes beyond some people's skill level then, to a point, whether that makes it more complex and therefore limits the community involvement, I suppose you could say. But yeah, definitely that sense of, as Joe was saying, when it comes to something that's not knowing what's out there, because even when I was reading some of this, some people putting up on the link, there's obviously so much out there, and I actually then clicked on, I'm not sure whether it's a link to that site that has a list of lots of different examples.
What about good or bad? Good. Accentuate the negative.
There's all these things out there. As you say, we buy the cost version, alternative version, when there's probably things out there that we could have accessed that are free, particularly for school, and budgets that we have available to you, and some of the limitations that sometimes have, that maybe if we knew was out there more, that could be an alternative for us to try and implement without knowing what's really out there, and that's, I guess, the barrier.
Have we had bad yet, or all good?
No, we have,
Oh, wow, this had got off which good yet.
We started on.
Oh, right, okay. And they're going both.
Contributed, don't get it. Yeah. And that's sort of something that's happening with
Counting down. 30 seconds.
I think so. I think some of them.
So that, is that something we should just be a free program?
You have to know what you're doing, then.
I
Change the code.
Well, some things are not that difficult.
If it can be
Really? I
modified,
mean,
does that?
Moodle, you can just add extra little
I don't know about
plugins.
it, but I'm just thinking if it
Just
can be
don't, you know,
modified
it
as
might
well,
be really
does that
simple, simple as
have
doing an ad,
potential?
really.
Did that cause problems? Like, is there therefore,
I think that's
assuming they
definitely-
use like to say using a platform,
But that is
some have
difficult
greater
too, I suppose, because
ability to make greater changes
get
than
it
others
accepted,
possibly
you have
because
to
of
really
obviously
explain it to
potential would something quite modified in the sense that it would not ruin, but you know, like whether it would modify it so much that something might happen to it.
Okay, that's it. Time's up. Cool. It's fast and furious today. I actually did I was at a meeting last week, and somebody ran 7-minute sessions, and it was so good. I thought we'll do 5 minutes here. Now, have a look online. What have we got? More good than bad.
good that it's free. Bad, it's not widely known about. Bad, is it trustworthy? Good, flexible and customizable.
Lack of support.
Good that it's alternatives to very expensive programs. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Bad, the support sometimes is lacking. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I like that second bottom one.
Second bottom one. Where are we up to?
Keep going down. Oh,
bad freedom
not
to do
that
what you
one.
want with
There's
it, but
another
also good freedom to do what you want. But
Yeah.
Linda
there's
and
one
Rebecca
about
reversed
there's
it.
always more than one.
Oh, there's always more than one.
Yeah.
Good programmers contribute their time and build something that supports others in their own time. Yep.
Right. Any discussion from over on the tables?
Yeah, we have potential of mischief. For mischief.
Is that good or bad?
Oh, this is a bad one, okay. So we're very positive, we're just going to talk about the negatives. Potential for hackers and to destroy the entire community.
There is, okay, does anybody know if that's ever happened?
Well,
No, not that I know.
but there is potential, okay.
Yeah.
So it was backup.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, oh, there was issues of being taken advantage of by the programmers. Because they're investing all of that time, and some business can buy it out, and they'll go unrewarded.
Absolutely. And as Kath mentioned, in last semester when we were looking at Oculus Rift, that was crowdfunded. Do you know Oculus Rift? For those of you who were in my class last semester, should walk along and but yeah, crowdfunded, and then they sold it to Google or Facebook or something. Yeah. Okay, that's great. We'll keep going. That's all. Over here. Sheila? Not knowing what's that. And you know, no marketing. No, there isn't.
So we sort of suggested that you would probably choose an alternative that you knew about, which might be a paid version, and there might actually be an equally good free version that you just don't know about because there's not the marketing. You can get the advertisers in there getting their time to program.
Hey, yeah. Altruistic advertisers.
Isn't there a whole issue around this, like, was it the pirate radio, the Swedish guys?
Yeah.
In terms of how they do open source, more than legal stuff that makes it. But in terms of what happens with creating something based on community and the shared intellectual material, but then the question is who owns that material? What happens when it's being shared widely with we're changing that, and it's constantly getting transformed beyond what it looked like.
Yeah. Which leads me perfectly to, it depends, I think we'll do this task next. I did want everybody to individually just go to SourceForge and find at least one open source application that suited a need. One, at least one. So you're on SourceForge and you're thinking now, I need to do something. I need to record a band. I need to play a movie. I need to write a document. I need to edit some video. I need to replicate the sound of a pipe organ on my synthesizer.
I need to finish an assignment.
I need to finish an assignment. Okay, we're going to do just 2 minutes or 3 minutes doing that individually. Everybody is to look, find at least one open source application that addresses an educational or other need in your life. Now, that doesn't mean I want everyone to look at the same. Let's you can see that there are categories.
Well, I hope I'm turning into the. Oh, that's Wikispace. Oh, God, where's my. I was trying to go into 21C. I just thought I was knocking it out. We're still on Wikispace. So it locks it.
I looked on Wikipedia and it said something like 83,000, something like that applications and something like 900,000 programmers. That's a huge community. All right. Who's found something? What did you find?
I found Tux Paint.
Oh yeah, Tux
I
Paint.
think it's using the code.
Okay.
I think someone's mentioned that.
Tux Paint and Solarium. Anyone heard of those? Tux Paint, no? Good. I was using GIMP the other day. One of the nice things too about open source is they often play with recursive acronyms. Is that what they call them?
I don't know.
GNU is not Unix.
Oh, okay.
Lame is not. Anyway, do you find anything?
Yeah, I found
I can't even say that. Nemesign. What's Nemesign?
It's a flashcard program, but the good thing about it is it reviews your answers and then bring up ones you got wrong at the right time for review.
Wow. Hey, beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty. How are we going? Well, it might. You can read. You can go to the website usually and see what they're saying. You can read the reviews, and off you go. How's Sarah go?
I was looking before at Open Teacher, which was looking at foreign language, vocab, and how you could use such like that to learn your language.
Fantastic. Now, I'm just finished with the minutes back around everybody in the classroom. Does anyone want to shout one out that they think is brilliant? They're all brilliant. Audacity, yes, Audacity.
So if
Audacity is
they're
great.
on SourceForge, are they trustworthy?
Are they trustworthy on SourceForge? I've never had a problem with anything that I've downloaded from SourceForge. And that's the only thing I can say. Has anyone seen, is it Blender or Blender? The 3D, incredibly complex 3D animating software.
But don't they, at SourceForge, they do recommend you use a download virus checker that just in case, because people can actually embed in that kind of exe file code. Yes. And that you do have to be a bit careful. Many of the virus checkers already know where to look in terms of executable files. So don't just trust us when we say that we've never had a problem. Yeah. It may actually be a problem.
It may, of course, it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have never had a problem. Has anyone used OpenOffice? Yeah, OpenOffice works fine. I stopped using OpenOffice because it didn't manage. I couldn't use EndNote with it, so it was kind of. Anyway, now last activity. VLC, EgoNet. That sounds great.
Well, Linda has to tell us what EgoNet does.
EgoNet. Now,
data collection and analysis.
If you look at the NING, or even at the article for today, there is. Hang on, I just have to log myself back in. On the week 10, on the week 10 readings page, you will see, where is it? I'm talking as I've put a larger version of that table that was in, there it is there, halfway down. I've put a larger version of the table. And I'd just really like you to spend a few minutes now. We've got maybe another 5 or 7 minutes, because I know I need to speak to some people about projects and stuff, and look at those motivations for practice. I'd really like you to sort of think deeply and maybe have some discussion about what they actually mean, but how they might actually work or what they might look like. So here we have a really nice table. I really like that table, where you've got, you know, communities of learners, communities of practice, and then there's this notion of communities of altruists. And perhaps looking at what we've discussed today so far, or just thinking about what that stuff means, you might be able to provide examples or at least a discussion around that table. So can you do that now, please? And you hangouters might want to chat, or talk really, or just chat. Thank you.
I'll probably text.
They'll probably text, yeah.
I really like the community of ultras. There's a lot of discussions out there about
probably too many people on the but
I guess our own professional learning and really driving that ourselves. I think that kind of encapsulates that quite nicely. That it's kind of, we should be, you know, collegial, and we should be keen to share, and to, that there doesn't have to actually be a sense of, I guess, that extrinsic, I guess, goal at the end. It's just a sense that, I like that creation, it's just a shared resource. Because I think it's something, we don't have to feel like we're going to gain something, you know, extrinsic from it. It's intrinsic motivation to know that it's for us and for everyone else in that community, that we're just growing learners, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, so for example,
yeah, no, just what Sarah was saying, like, since being on the NIC here, like, it's about being really valuable. So
I think it's your skills and the way to skills somewhere else.
And just a few times.
I think it's
Sorry, because usually everyone else is
it is actually, if you can get get a reputation, no one will pick you up.
like you say,
Well, I have a feeling that's what the whole thing is
I don't
driven
know about your LMS, but ours,
Yes.
videos and stuff.
Ultras are complex human beings. They don't really, they want people to like what they do, and that's part of their motivation. Out of that,
I was just imagining
there's
the
an
other
opportunity.
a number of times growing up, sat in class with me, and I wait for you when it was to type in a question and the rest of the class answer it for you. You didn't have to wait for the teacher to come. Alright, great.
What does it mean? You're right.
I think too, with that table, I quite like how it's broken up into those, I guess, areas. You know, student captures, like, so that's social breakdown, then it breaks down quite nicely rather than being just learning and caught up in all different stages, just to see quite clearly.
That is a way of but no, I'm just saying, it's kind of like all software development or all new startups now are open source, and they've just twisted the whole economic thing on its head, because you start with no money, an idea, and you get people to contribute to your ideas. Now, some people get in on round 4, yes, and they cut off opportunities for other people to come in, but things like Twitter have just recently introduced, I think, some kind of opportunity for advertising. I'm not sure how they monetize anything, but there are, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars funded by people who think Twitter will make money at some point.
That's what I think of that.
What do you say about it's an open community environment, but things like
Yeah,
which is still running, for years.
Flows that sort of mental state where
Still free.
I guess you're just involved in a task.
Nothing.
You're really
Okay. So for some,
engaged and you're not thinking about external
except they get probably get music.
Writing an assignment and, you know, this work might be
No,
hard.
if you're interested in, you know, bands or producing stuff for you for free.
For you, and you lose track of time, you're engaged in it. And you can get that sense of flow,
It's kind of
playing sport, playing a video game, or
But it's also
we talk about it as, you know,
open
you
source.
can board with something,
Yeah, challenge.
I mean, universities say that they're doing it for altruistic reasons, but they're actually doing it for a whole stack of non-altruistic reasons. Some of them are good, but most of it is promotion.
Yes, so they can manage that, but also have that challenge to know that an actual work.
Okay, time's up. A mean ship today. Is that what you say? A tight ship today? I don't know. We've got 15 minutes left. How did we go? How did we go? Lots of discussion online about what is actually good and bad. Is it bad to seek payment? Is it bad to be rewarded for what you do? I don't actually get paid here because I love my job so much. I work for free. Isn't that the case with all of you? Yeah, but anyway, Ted and I were having this rather cynical discussion about altruism and what altruists really are, and does everybody work for some kind of motivational reason? I don't know. Being cynical. Anybody have any specific comments that they'd like to make? And if you're online, you're allowed to butt in with a voice. Anybody?
They kind of bleed into each other. They're not necessarily, this is a community practice, this is learners. There'll be people within groups that will be doing it for different reasons and different levels. And saying that it also can change if you start altruistic and then things can move in a different direction.
Yeah, that's interesting too, in a sense that in one of those large communities you might have a community practice, and then you've got people who aren't part of that community practice, but who are just learning from the community. And then of course, you've got the three. And look, in terms of this subject, and in terms of the kind of theoretical or philosophical things that we want you to think about, is, you know, community practice is one thing, but there are other things that go on, and even with a simple table like that says, okay, here's, and you're saying, you know, there's this sort of this dynamic relationship that may or may not happen within each of those kinds of communities. Anybody else?
Can I ask a question just on the motivators?
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether some of the things about our, some of the problems that people identify, which are really good problems to identify, you know, the participation of or engagement of students or engagement of staff, like, is there any way that the open source community makes sort of a suggestion as to what may motivate someone to contribute, you know, their ideas to a community online, even if it is just of other students? Why would anyone do that without, you know, getting a mark for it? Obviously, a mark is a pretty good motivator, and maybe online in open source, as I was being cynical before, that people do actually gain reputational value if they're known to be contributing, you know, high quality programming to an open source community. Other people see that and may actually include them in projects that do have money. Not saying that everything has to be related to that kind of, I think that's more extrinsic motivator, not intrinsic. Yeah. But anyway, that was my question. Does this tell us... Well, to the CV, does that tell us anything? That's much more high level, I suppose. We're thinking about money, thinking about CV, thinking about reputation. But is there any way that kids might get into a community, do you think?
Well, I think what they have in common with
I need to run it, don't you?
I think if they're very passionate about what they do, programmers, it's very boring, but they find it very exciting. And so there are those extrinsic motivators where they, because they put on their looking into other things. But I think for the most part, they just get very excited about solving those problems and figuring things out and being able to develop their skills, because that's what they love doing. And I think that's where, with communities of learners, we have to tap into something they're actually interested in.
Yep.
And bring that into whatever topic or whatever literacy, whatever we're trying to do. I think you need to get them where it's relevant to them, and then that hooks them into it. If it's irrelevant, nobody gets excited about it.
No, and I mean, that's even at the sort of very lowest level, when you say, in a primary school, that the people who play the music before at the end of the play or something, you can see in different schools, for some people, that becomes a real task. They're actually really committed to playing exciting music and different music each time. I mean, it's just a flippant example, but is that altruistic? They're giving up their playtime. They're giving up their own time to make something, to do something better. You could probably try.
I just wrote down that, like, for the need for me, I've never experienced an online community before, and it took me a long time to get into it to feel confident, but it became of such value to me that, particularly when I had questions and working about it at night, you put it on and then you get an answer within an hour, and like instead of having to wait, a day later, that you can get an answer back off a teacher or something like that. And because it had so much value to me, that's why I wanted to pass it on. So because I thought, well, if it's of value to me, then I want to create this for my students, or that to help them, that they'll get value.
And I talked earlier about communities within communities. If you look at the forums around all of these software things, people who aren't necessarily the authors or the coders are still contributing to the knowledge of that thing. And then, if you have a problem, I mean, you'll talk about something else. If you have a problem with a piece of open source software, you put it on the forum. Someone's going to answer you, because there's a whole community around it. Sorry, you were going to talk about this, please.
Yeah. So as I was reading the readings, I was actually doing this book reading on building a social business. Yeah. So it starts off as a very altruistic, getting the social, helping to solve social problems. And it starts small by getting the problem solved in the local community. And the author, Muhammad Yunus, he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 because of his social business, and he's the mentor to the quote. He did the start by just lending $27 to a group of people in the local village. And from there, he actually started the whole banking business of lending to the poor. And right now, his business model is actually being taken across the board to many different countries. And from that, he actually started collaborating with other companies and building the social business from the altruistic start point. And interestingly, from one of the pages that I was reading, it's actually his collaboration with one of the hospitals in Italy. And then from there, it started pure learning. And they want to be a learning organization, and so he has created an open source web platform specifically trying to allow easy continuous communication among its professional teams in Italy, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Yeah, and they use different platforms like Skype and Zoom to do telecommunication presentations and a few others. Yeah, but that started basically from the standpoint where the hospital in Italy actually had problems with thalassemia, the blood disorder, and then from there to the developing countries. Yeah.
Well, I think on that uplifting note, rather than Ted's or my cynical contributions, I think we might find a really obvious and pleasant place to finish the class. I need to talk to a couple of people, and I would like to just you know, so please, I think we might finish, unless anyone's got anything they need desperately to ask or say. Projects are up, or everyone, I think, projects are submitted, reviews are there, and people have started to submit reviews as well. I know the review process is a little challenging to get your head around. Just think nice thoughts. Think nice thoughts and write, just make some work. Okay.
When do we get our marks from
when
you?
you get
Yeah,
a
when are
mark,
we getting results, please?
yeah, when are we getting results? Real soon, as soon as. I will say, I mean, Ted and I were having this discussion too. The projects take an awful long time to mark, so much more time than an essay, because there's kind of, you have to, first of all, you have to get yourself into the head of the author, and then you have to try and work out what it is they're actually saying. But yes, we're working on them. We are working on them, and they'll be coming soon. Yes. Do you need to have references for reviews? If there's nothing that says you do, but I think it adds weight to what you're saying. You can draw on what you've learned and what you know. So typically, I think literature is useful and adds to the weight of the response, but it's not essential. But you probably won't get as good a mark. So it depends on the quality of your writing, of course, and the capacity to really get inside that project and provide useful response. Okay, thank you everybody. See you everyone online. Bye. Okay.